time. Hi everybody! Welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a little bit different video because I know it's been a hot minute since I've been recording because the past 2 years have been absolutely insanely wonderful but crazy with a capital C and a capital Z. And so I asked my Instagram followers to give me some questions and I would do a question and answer video for you guys because it's been a hot minute since I've talked to you on the YouTubes and pretty much everywhere else. I'm alive, I'm still going, still making costumes as you can see. You know, I just don't have time to make videos all the time, but that's gonna change this year because, hot damn it, I'm gonna make freaking time. I'm gonna make time. Gonna make time. Okay. Let's get to the questions.
I'm just gonna walk out.
I'm sorry. Let's get to the questions. Alright, first question comes from Nader Gator. Love that. 2019. Are you going to D23 Expo in 2019? No! Next question comes from Brit Riot. Favorite conventions you've been to and why? That's hard because I love fan conventions and I also like costuming conventions, which is like your Katsucons, your Dragon Cons, but I'm a really big comic book person and nerd and all those. So I'd have to say C2E2 is probably my favorite. And I also really like Star Wars Celebration. However, I've only been to one of those. It's gonna change this year because I'm going in 2019. Next question comes from Ginger Real 101. I want to start cosplaying, but I'm currently in school. Should I try to balance both or buy a cosplay? I think you mean if you need to make a cosplay versus buying while you're in school. That is totally up to you. If you have the time, I say make it because making things is wonderful and it gives you such joy. Like Marie Kondo, such joy. But balancing school is hard because I used to do that and I don't anymore. So I would say, you know, do whatever you can, but I would say make something because that's, you know, super fun and you should try. And it's not what cosplay is all about because cosplay is doing whatever you want to do and however you do it. But I would suggest making something and possibly buying the rest, like do a half and half. Next, NovaCat Cosplay asks, what is the best sewing machine in your opinion for cosplay material? Ooh. Prepare to shell out the money, because I'm gonna say a Bernina. I have a Bernina B380. She is wonderful, but it's pricey. It's at least over $1,000. I got a used model and it was still over $1,000. That is the high quality sewing machine in my opinion. Also the Singer Heavy Duty, which is the gray Singer, does really well, and that could be a lower price point. My suggestion is to get one that is a heavy duty machine that can do a lot of different materials. You know, cosplayers aren't just sewing cotton like quilters, so you need something that can go through leather, foam, you know, sewing on zippers, anything like that. So I use a Bernina. Several different brands or types of Berninas are out there, but if you want something at a lower price point, I suggest the Singer Heavy Duty machine. It's pretty cool. Next comes from Cordave Cosplay. How do you balance everything? Life, cosplay, and YouTube? I don't. It's hard. I don't. I'm terrible at balancing anything. Basically what I do is make lists and make schedules. That's the only way I can balance anything. Anyone can basically agree with me on that. I will block out a week just to make videos, which is actually what I did this whole past week, and I was able to crank out what I did. My life relies on schedules and notes and just reminders, and that's the only way to balance everything. It's hard, it's so hard because you're working 9 to 5 and then you have to keep working when you come home. So my biggest thing is scheduling. Get yourself a fancy planner and some fancy gel pens and just schedule your little heart away. Next comes from Death Bright. When all you have is Joann's, how do you find the right fabric? That's all we have here in Louisville, Kentucky is a good old Joann's. I am a big proponent of Joann's and I can't say anything bad about them. That's all I have here. So when that's all you have, it's all you have. You know, buy swatches and samples from different fabric makers throughout the interwebs and see what quality you like. There are several types of fabric sellers out there and that can work with you and trying out fabrics here and there, but honestly, Joann's is awesome and there's several online fabric wholesalers. You just kind of have to try it out. Buy swatches of what you think you'd like to buy and just see if you like the quality. Next question comes from Zombies Workshop. Hey girl, what's up? She asks, I love you too. What Marvel Universe costume will you make next? Marvel Cinematic Universe or Marvel Universe? Because I love to do the comic book versions of Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. That would be just lovely. But I would also like to do, from the MCU, Nebula. So yeah, Zombie, if I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Let's do a Gamora Nebula shoot, right? Right. Wink, wink. Alex is secretly so excited right now. Next question comes from Look-a-lot.
Do it. I'm ready.
She's ready.
I'm ready.
Ready.
Oh.
Yeah, we're coming for you, Grace. Coming for you. Next question comes from Aida. I'm sorry if I butchered these usernames, y'all. There's a lot of questions to go through. She asks, what is the thing that you hate sorry, I butchered that. What is the thing that you hate making on your costume part? I'm thinking, like, what do I dislike of the costume build? Cutting fabric. Hate it. Awful. Moving on. The next question comes from Potatoes and Hugs. That's adorable username. What is it about characters that makes you want to cosplay them, or is it their costumes / your ideas? I am a big proponent of loving the character, because if I don't love the character that I'm making, I will lose interest so freaking fast, like just gone, like just out of it. I'm very drawn to powerful women, especially with superpowers and weapons, and like that's just the aesthetic that I'm drawn to versus something like that I like the aesthetic of. Like, for example, I really like Loki's aesthetic. I don't really care for Loki, but I love the colors that are used in his outfit. So I would look for that. But I'm more likely someone to pick Captain Marvel because I love her, I know her, I've read about her a lot, and so I'm going for more of that. So that's typically kind of how I choose my costumes, is really based on the character. Next question comes from Esmonda Nima. Hi girl! How do you budget your cosplays? Do you stick to it? I budget my cosplays by half fundraising and half from my own pocket. Actually, it's kind of a mix of both. When I do a really big build, I have a Ko-fi account to where anybody and everyone can donate and you can become a part of my costume. I write your name into my costumes, and also if you donate over a certain tier, you get prints. That was a shameless plug, but that's also how I really budget and help out costumes. I budget for, as much as I can, but I don't make a whole lot of gigantic costumes a year. I used to do like 12, 13 costumes a year, which is absolutely insane. But now I do about 3 or 4, and they're spaced out, and I try my hardest to use as many coupons to really focus on buying just the fabric first, seeing those costs, and moving on down the line. But because you guys are awesome and people really like to be a part of my costumes, fundraising is also helpful on budgeting my outfits. I know that's not typical for everybody, but I'm very lucky to be able to do that. Budgeting on a smaller level is just putting money aside each week, like putting $20 aside each week to get up to a spot where you can buy a large amount of fabric. It's tough to budget, but I usually write out as much as I possibly can price-wise first before I even dive into the project to see if it's even financially capable. That's probably my main thing to answer that question for. Next question comes from Nima Trench. How do you choose your cosplays and why? Just like the question above, I choose them because I am close to the character and I want to cosplay the character because I have a connection to that person's personality and just general attitude. I'm a very big character connection person with my cosplays. Next one is Bridget Lynn Brown. Do you prefer to bargain shop for fabric or always buy the best material you can find? Bargain. If you can bargain your way, go for it. I really like to experiment with fabrics to see if things work using something unconventionally. For Captain Marvel example, I knew the exact fabric that I wanted and there was no way about it. But for Queen Amidala, for example, this work in progress behind me, the fabric right here is Halloween decorations, like spider webbing, that I was like, ooh, let's try that. So I'm a big person on experimenting with cheaper fabrics to see if it'll work. But if I know something is gonna have a quality that needs like a silk cost, I will go and buy the silk. You know, so I'm a 50-50 type person, I would definitely say. Next one comes from Sean McGuire 92. What's a costume that really challenged you that you came away learning something from? Probably, possibly Captain Marvel. I thought it would be easier than it was, and it wasn't as easy as I thought. I learned a lot about, you know, stretchy fabrics and about stacking fabrics and stitching things with different seam work, and I also learned how to make a helmet. I've never done that before. Anything that requires electronics teaches me a whole lot. So my Anastasia, the Captain Marvel, even Doctor Strange with an electronic, those are some costumes that have taught me more, and I'm excited to explore more because of those costumes and the way they've taught me. Next question comes from Jammy Pajammy. That's cute. What was the most difficult costume for you to make? Difficult? Once again, Captain Marvel! She's really hard to make. Well, she wasn't that hard once I figured it out, but she was tough. Queen Amidala, the first, like, the Senate gown was tough. That headpiece took me through the ringer. And then the robe was difficult because I was using a lot of different materials and techniques that I've never used before. So I would have to say Queen Amidala was probably my most difficult. Next question comes from Crunchy Rat? I don't know how to say that. Sorry. How do you make fabric patterns from pictures? I'm guessing this question is more of how do you choose patterns when you see something in a photograph that you want to make. That's kind of tough. You kind of have to know how fabric is patterned and how clothes are made to really dissect how you're going to try to find that pattern. My biggest advice for that is to study the catalogs that the main pattern companies release, like McCall, Simplicity, Vogue Patterns, all of those guys, because they will have images and illustrations on what the garment looks like in like print versus what they have it in 3D, we're using 3D glasses, but in real life. Studying that, you can kind of understand what seams look like, and then you can actually be able to pick out in photos that's, you know, a long sleeve crew neck with bat wing shirt, and you'll be able to find that in a pattern quite fast. Yeah, that's my recommendation. The next question comes from Olivia, my sister. Who's your #1 fan? That's you. Because if I don't say you, you'll hurt me. Sweats. Love you, babe. Next question comes from Molly Mander. Hey girl, what's up? What advice would you give to cosplayers who are insecure about their bodies? Oh my god. Because that's me. That's everybody. I don't know. It's really hard to give advice on that because I struggle with it all the time. My best advice would be to surround yourself with people and in groups of cosplayers that, you know, you feel comfortable around. If you wanted to do a photo shoot, work with a really good photographer that can help you with modeling poses, but you know, start with things you're comfortable with. I don't necessarily tell people the first outfit they should do is a Slave Leia bikini, and I know you've done that. I've seen you, Molly, and you look fantastic, but that's not the first type of cosplay that most people do. You know, I suggest maybe doing something that's like a streetwear outfit, like maybe like a Doctor Who look, or something you can pull from a closet, and to make yourself just get comfortable with the idea of cosplaying, and then from that you can grow confidence, showing off your outfit, being with friends, you know, meeting followers. You grow confidence by just getting out there and cosplaying on the convention floor, or just getting out there and photographing and just having these pictures that you look awesome in, because no one wants to make you look bad in a photograph. If you work with a really good photographer like Alexandra Listerios, who? Shameless plug. You know, you can grow confidence that way, and it was really hard for me because I started out with you know, making anything I really wanted because I had that skill set, but I wasn't confident to match what I was wearing, and so it was a really strange shift. But the more I cosplayed, the more I got out there and met people and showed off my outfit, got excited about what I was making, the more my confidence got, better. So that's my main advice for that. Wow. The next question comes from Omega Luna. What inspired you to start cosplaying? Simple answer. I was really tired of making clothes for actors and actresses and dancers and opera singers, and they didn't give me the appreciation that I wanted. And I was like, I want to wear what I make. That's pretty much it. What inspired was jealousy. I guess. I don't know. What inspired me was jealousy in a weird way, that I was kind of wanting to wear my own designs and show off my fandom in a cool way that I wanted to via cosplay. Next question is from Meg the Redhead. Favorite part of a project? Oh, possibly the whole journey. That sounds really dumb and kind of, Peter Jackson, like, just the whole journey. I really, really like the detail work at the end, especially if there's embroidery or beadwork or adding, rhinestones, because you can really see it glow and kind of grow from that. I also really like the first draft, kind of not necessarily the mock-up, but when you first putting everything together and you can put it on and like see and start to tailor, because that just, it's exciting. I really like that. And being able to take a picture and show everybody, hey, look what I'm doing and look where I'm starting. That's exciting. But definitely mocking is one of my least favorites. But most favorite is probably the detail work towards the end. Next question comes from Rogelero. Will you go to the premiere wearing your Captain Marvel? No, unless someone from Hollywood invites me to the premiere, I'll be there in Captain Marvel and stand on that red carpet next to Brie Larson. Of course I'd do that. But I'm just from Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm a tiny person. So most likely, no. I'll probably be wearing this shirt, though. You can see it. I don't like to go to premieres in costume. Usually the movies are long, and I don't like to sit in those outfits for very long. So I usually do maybe a casual cosplay, but I don't think I'll be wearing the whole suit to the premiere, no. Next question comes from Grace Croup. Hi, Grace. If you had unlimited funding, what costumes would you make? I don't know, because I'm kind of already making what I want to make. And that sounds really awful because it's like I have unlimited funds. I don't. But one of my goals is to kind of make all the Queen Amidala costumes, because why not? Why not? I would really like to be a Stormtrooper or Captain Phasma. And that's not something I would probably make. I'd probably buy that kit, but the kits are, a couple grand. But as far as what costume would I have with unlimited funding, it would probably be just the ability to keep going and making what I want to make, because there's no holding me back. Next question, Arena Z0312. What advice would you give for someone with low self-esteem who needs pickup? Man, I'm so sorry, y'all. Hugs. First off, and some coffee. Coffee really helps me. If you are speaking on if you have low self-esteem in costume, like I answered Molly's question earlier, it's really hard to really kind of narrow down a magic way to do that, because everyone is different. I'm different, you're different. It's just kind of what you feel comfortable in. I find a lot of confidence in just wearing things that I make, and that goes for cosplays, that goes for clothes. Something that I like to do every once in a while is make a dress, and that is a nice little pick-me-up, if you have the capability. Making something, maybe making a pillowcase or something, making something fun for yourself is definitely a pick-me-up that I would suggest, even if it's not sewing. Maybe make a cake, make it something, but create something that you put time into thinking about and molding with your own hands. And that definitely kind of helps and gives me a pick-me-up too. One of my biggest advices with struggling with self-confidence in the cosplay world or having low self-esteem is to don't compare yourself to anybody that you see on social media or on the convention floor, because it's a deep dive into comparison and imposter syndrome and just depression, and it's very hard in our community because we are online and that's how we show off our work, whether it's at the convention or it's the internet. that's really hard for me to say because I have a hard time because I compare myself to tons of people online all the time. But if you find yourself, you know, comparing yourself to a certain person, and it's nothing against that person, you know, stepping away from social media or even muting that account sometimes help. I do that, and I have people that I follow that I mute sometimes because I just, you know, I compare myself all the time, and I don't like to do that, and you shouldn't do that, and no one should. It's no fun. But stepping away from social media is definitely one of the biggest advices for helping with that, as far as comparing yourself to other cosplayers. It's tough, but hugs and kisses, you'll get through it. Also, some more advice I have is that everybody within the cosplay community is on a different path. I started out actually as a professional seamstress when I started cosplaying, and so sometimes I get messages on, you know, oh, I can't compare myself to you, or you're so good, or all this stuff, and I'm like, guys, you guys are on a different path. Everyone starts somewhere, and that's okay, and that's how you grow. So if you find yourself comparing your maker ability to someone who has 10 plus years of professional sewing or professional foam building experience, that's unfair, and you shouldn't do that. My suggestion definitely would just to shy away from that a little bit, you know, to understand that everyone is different from your path and your progress versus their path and their progress. And to just keep going, keep chugging along like Thomas the Train Engine. Just go up the hill, you can do it. Next question comes from John M. Peterson. John, any tips on learning to sew cosplay / beginner projects? My biggest tip is to start small. Start small. If you have no cosplay sewing or building experience, make a small sword or make a pillowcase or make a skirt. And then from those progress that you've learned and techniques, you'll find yourself getting better and better as you move on throughout the build. The next question comes from Cass_cosplays. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? Easy. Super strength. Know my own strength, because I don't want to be crushing anybody's spines up in here, but mainly because I like the idea of walking around feeling like I could knock out a, you know, space shuttle or a building in half. Basically, I just want to be Captain Marvel. Sue me. Next question comes from Jay Berry. How does your cosplay interfere with your work life, especially since it's wig making? It is just one. It is all one now, because I make wigs for cosplayers. I also make wigs for myself in my cosplays. It just goes like this. It works out great because I have a great work team and a great boss and company. But I'm very lucky. But it works out really, really, really great.
What's the company you work for, Amanda?
The company I work for, just in case, shameless plug, is Custom Wig Company. Follow us on Instagram. Right here, because I'm going to put this in the video. Right here. Alright, final question comes from PowersGirl72. Any tips on cutting and styling wigs? Biggest tip is don't be afraid. Everyone has this fear with hair because it doesn't grow back, and especially with a wig, once you cut it, you're done. My biggest tip is to get a really sharp pair of scissor shears, of hair shears. You can get those on Amazon. And some good brushes, some really good hairspray, and to practice. It's traumatizing. Watch a lot of hair tutorials, follow a lot of wig stylists, aka Custom Wig Company, on Instagram, and get inspiration from that. But my biggest tip on that is to study. Study how hair is trimmed, study how the angles are to cut and trim hair. I had to do that. I came into my job not knowing jack anything about hair cutting, especially. I knew a little bit of styling, but that's just because I've experimented on my own wigs. But definitely watch YouTubers, read about hair cutting, and have a little more confidence going into your next wig build / cutting with those bits I said. So, yeah. Okay guys, well I'm going to end that there. That was a lot of questions, and thank you for submitting them through Instagram. I appreciate that. If you guys would like to see some more random videos besides just tutorials or anything, please comment below and give me some video ideas. I'm always open. Lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and to share this video. And if you have any other questions on any of my cosplays, feel free to hit me up in Instagram or in the comments below, and I will see you all later.